Camels have a fascinating and ancient history in North America. They originated there and played a significant role in the continent's prehistoric ecosystem before eventually going extinct. Here's an overview of their evolution, migration, and eventual disappearance. Evolutionary origins 45–50 million years ago. The earliest camel ancestors, known as Protylopus, appeared in North America around 45–50 million years ago during the Eocene epoch. These small, deer-like animals, about the size of a rabbit, evolved in what is now Wyoming and resembled modern camels in some skeletal features. Over millions of years, camels diversified into various species and sizes. By the late Miocene, around 10 million years ago, camelids had spread across North America with species ranging from smaller, llama-like camels to larger ones. Expansion and adaptation 20 million years ago. As North America's climate fluctuated between wet and arid periods, camels evolved to survive in diverse environments. Some species adapted to forested regions, while others thrived in open grasslands and semi-arid areas, laying the groundwork for their modern desert adaptations. Among these species were the camelops, a large camel, and Titanotilopus, the giant camel that stood 12 feet tall at the shoulder and weighed over a ton. Both roamed North America until the late Pleistocene. Migration to Asia and Africa, about 3–5 million years ago. During the Pliocene epoch, roughly 3–5 million years ago, camels migrated from North America to Asia via the Bering Land Bridge, a land connection between what is now Alaska and Russia. From there, they spread into Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. These migratory populations eventually gave rise to the modern species we know today. The dromedary, one-humped camel, and Bactrian camel, two-humped camel, both native to the Old World. Some camelids migrated south into South America, evolving into species like llamas, alpacas, vicuñas, and guanacos, which continue to thrive in the Andes today. Pleistocene epoch and extinction, 10,000–12,000 years ago. During the Pleistocene epoch, 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago, camels in North America were part of the continent's diverse megafauna, sharing the land with mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths, and dire wolves. Camels, along with many other large mammals, went extinct in North America around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. Their extinction is attributed to a combination of factors, including climate change. The end of the Ice Age brought rapid climate changes, reducing food sources and altering ecosystems. Early humans who arrived in North America around this time may have hunted camels as part of the broader megafaunal extinction. Camelops, the last North American camel. One of the last camel species to roam North America was Camelops histernus, which lived until around 11,000 years ago. Fossil evidence suggests Camelops was well adapted to the arid environments of the southwestern US and Mexico, resembling modern camels in its ability to survive on sparse vegetation. Fossils of Camelops have been found across the western US, particularly in places like La Brea tar pits in California, where many Ice Age animals were preserved. Camels reintroduced to North America. In a curious twist, camels were reintroduced to North America in the 19th century as part of an experimental military project. In 1856, the US Army imported dromedary and Bactrian camels from the Middle East as part of the Camel Corps project to transport goods across the American Southwest. Though the camels adapted well to the desert, the project was abandoned due to logistical issues and the outbreak of the Civil War. Some of these camels were set free and survived in the wild for years, with sightings reported as late as the early 20th century in Texas, Arizona, and California. Camels have a long evolutionary history in North America, originating there before migrating to other parts of the world. Their eventual extinction marked the end of a long era of megafauna that once dominated the continent. Feral llamas in North America are a relatively rare phenomenon, but there are a few instances where llamas, which are domesticated animals originally from South America, have established small wild populations. Here's an overview of the history, impact and current situation of feral llamas in North America. Introduction to North America. Llamas are native to the Andes region of South America, where they have been domesticated for thousands of years. In the late 20th century, they were introduced to North America for various purposes, including livestock farming, pack animals for hikers, and as pets or for their wool. Farms and ranches. In the 1970s and 1980s, llamas became popular on farms and ranches across the US and Canada. They were also used in guarding livestock, especially sheep, as llamas are known to protect herds from predators like coyotes. Feral populations. Over time, some llamas escaped from captivity or were released by owners who could no longer care for them. These animals, when they escape into the wild, are referred to as feral llamas. Llamas are hardy animals and can adapt to various environments. In some cases, they have been able to survive and even thrive in the wild, particularly in remote and mountainous areas where their natural instincts help them forage and avoid predators. Notable feral llama populations: Northwest US, Washington and Oregon. One of the more well-known feral llama populations exists in the Pacific Northwest. In Washington state, there have been small groups of feral llamas reported, often in remote areas. These animals likely descended from escapees or abandoned pets and have adapted to the rugged, forested environments. Canadian Rockies. Similarly, in the Canadian Rockies, there have been occasional reports of feral llamas that escape from pack animal services or farms. These llamas can survive in mountainous areas, but there is no evidence of a large, sustained feral population. California. There have also been occasional reports of feral llamas in parts of California, particularly in the Sierra Nevada region. As in other areas, these llamas were likely escapees from farms or ranches. Ecological impact. Unlike some invasive species such as feral pigs or horses, llamas have not caused significant ecological disruption in the areas where they've gone feral. They tend to browse on grasses and shrubs, but do not appear to outcompete native species to a damaging extent. Additionally, their population numbers are relatively low. Feral llama populations have not widely expanded because llamas are herd animals and require a stable social structure to breed effectively. In many cases, the feral llamas are individuals or small groups that don't have the opportunity to reproduce significantly in the wild. Feral llamas in North America face various natural predators, though their large size and social behavior can sometimes offer protection. Llamas, originally domesticated in South America, are prey animals that have retained some instincts to avoid predation. Here's an overview of the main predators that might threaten feral llamas in North America. Coyotes. Coyotes are widespread throughout much of North America and are one of the most common predators that could prey on feral llamas, especially young or smaller individuals. Llamas, however, are known to be effective at defending themselves against coyotes. In fact, llamas are often used by farmers to guard sheep and goats due to their protective nature. Adult llamas are usually large enough to deter coyotes, but in isolated situations or if they are injured or sick, coyotes could pose a greater risk. Mountain lions, cougars. In mountainous regions such as the Rockies and the Sierra Nevadas, mountain lions are apex predators that could prey on feral llamas. Mountain lions primarily hunt deer, but will target any large ungulate, including llamas when available. Feral llamas that roam alone or in small groups are more vulnerable to mountain lion attacks, especially in remote areas where these big cats are active. Wolves. In regions where wolves have been reintroduced or have natural populations, such as parts of the US Rockies and Canada, feral llamas could fall prey to these pack hunters. Wolves typically hunt in groups and target large prey, so they could overpower even adult llamas, particularly if the llama is isolated or unable to flee quickly. Wolves are skilled at taking down larger animals, and a pack would pose a significant threat to any llama, though large, healthy llamas can defend themselves to some extent. Bears. Both black bears and grizzly bears can pose a threat to feral llamas, especially in regions where the bears are common, such as parts of Alaska, the Rockies, and Canada. Bears are opportunistic feeders and might attack a llama if the opportunity arises, though they typically target smaller or more vulnerable animals. Grizzlies, being stronger and more aggressive than black bears, would have a higher chance of successfully hunting a llama, especially during times of food scarcity. Birds of prey, limited threat. Large birds of prey, like eagles, may pose a threat to young llamas. Cryas. but these instances are rare. Adult llamas are too large to be threatened by any avian predator. Defensive behavior of llamas. Llamas generally rely on their agility and ability to flee from predators. However, when cornered, llamas can be quite defensive. They are known to spit, kick, and use their strong legs to strike predators. Their social nature also helps them survive in the wild. When in groups, llamas can form a defensive perimeter and protect one another from potential threats. Interestingly, llamas have a natural instinct to guard, especially when protecting herds of sheep or goats in domesticated settings. This protective behavior extends to their own kind when in feral herds. Feral llamas in North America face a variety of predators, particularly coyotes, mountain lions, wolves, and in some cases, bears. However, their size, social structure, and defensive instincts offer them some protection, allowing them to survive in the wild under certain conditions. Although these predators can pose a risk, the feral llama population remains relatively small and isolated, which limits the overall impact of predation on these animals. Rewilding camels in North America could offer several ecological, environmental, and economic benefits. Although camels are not native to modern North America, their ancestors known as camelops roamed the continent until they went extinct around 11,000 years ago. Reintroducing camels as part of a rewilding project could provide various positive impacts. Restoration of ecological balance. Rewilding camels could help restore the ecological niche once occupied by their ancient relatives, which played a role in the balance of desert and arid ecosystems. Modern camels, dromedaries and Bactrians could help maintain vegetation dynamics by grazing on shrubs and plants, preventing the overgrowth of invasive species in certain areas. Camels, as large herbivores, would serve as important agents of seed dispersal. By grazing and traveling across large distances, they could help distribute seeds of native plant species, promoting biodiversity and helping restore degraded ecosystems. Desertification control. Camels are well adapted to arid environments and could be valuable in areas at risk of desertification, such as parts of the US Southwest. Their grazing habits could help manage desert scrub vegetation and reduce fuel for wildfires. This in turn would help slow down desert expansion by allowing native vegetation to thrive and retain soil moisture. Camels could also help improve soil quality through trampling, which loosens compacted soil and encourages new plant growth. Their manure could provide valuable nutrients, enhancing soil fertility and supporting more robust plant communities in desert regions. Supporting native wildlife. By grazing and controlling plant overgrowth, camels can create more open areas that benefit smaller herbivores and ground-dwelling animals. This could improve habitat conditions for species such as rabbits, lizards, and birds in arid environments. Camels are browsers, meaning they feed on shrubs and plants, including some invasive species that may crowd out native flora. This natural control could allow native species to reclaim space and reduce competition for resources. Ecotourism and wildlife safaris. Camels could provide opportunities for ecotourism in desert or semi-arid regions of North America. Wildlife enthusiasts might be drawn to see camel herds in restored habitats, which could generate revenue for conservation projects and local economies. Climate change. Adaptation. Camels are extremely well adapted to hot, dry environments, and as climate change leads to increased desertification and droughts in some parts of North America, camels could be a valuable asset. They require less water than cattle and other livestock, making them a more sustainable option for maintaining biodiversity and land productivity in regions facing water scarcity. By promoting healthy vegetation growth through controlled grazing, camels could help enhance carbon sequestration. Restored ecosystems with healthy plant communities capture and store carbon, reducing overall atmospheric CO2 levels. Reducing livestock pressure. Traditional livestock, such as cattle and sheep, require more water and food compared to camels, and they are less suited to arid landscapes. Rewilding camels could alleviate pressure on ranching lands and reduce overgrazing and land degradation, making camel-based systems more sustainable in regions with limited water supplies. Biodiversity. Preservation, camels would help restore degraded arid ecosystems, supporting the plants and animals that thrive in such environments. By increasing the health of desert and semi-desert habitats, camels would indirectly contribute to the conservation of biodiversity in these regions. Historical and scientific interest, restoring a lost species, rewilding camels in North America could be a unique conservation experiment, helping to reintroduce a species or their close relatives that existed on the continent thousands of years ago. This could offer valuable scientific insights into how ancient ecosystems functioned and how modern species could help restore lost ecological processes. Evolutionary study. The reintroduction of camels could also be an interesting case study in evolutionary biology, as researchers could observe how camels adapt to a continent they once inhabited, tracking their interactions with other species and ecosystems. Rewilding camels in North America could offer multiple benefits, from restoring ecological balance and supporting biodiversity to contributing to desertification control and creating new economic opportunities. Camels, with their unique adaptations to arid environments, could help mitigate the effects of climate change while enriching local ecosystems and providing resilience against desertification in vulnerable areas. Rewilding camels in North America would likely be most successful in arid and semi-arid regions that mimic the natural habitat camels are adapted to. These areas include deserts, grasslands and scrublands, where their presence could positively impact the ecosystem. Here's an overview of potential locations and the camel species that would be suitable for rewilding. Potential locations for rewilding camels in North America. Southwestern United States, for example, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Nevada and California. These states have large desert and semi-arid regions that are similar to the camel's natural habitats in the Middle East, North Africa and Central Asia. Why it works? The deserts of the American Southwest, such as the Sonoran and Mojave deserts, offer the kind of dry climate and sparse vegetation camels thrive in. This region also faces issues like desertification, which camels could help mitigate by controlling overgrowth and reducing the impacts of wildfires. Camels could help maintain the delicate balance of these ecosystems, prevent the spread of invasive species, and aid in habitat restoration projects aimed at mitigating desertification and soil erosion. The Great Basin, Nevada, Utah, Idaho. This region is one of the largest desert ecosystems in North America, characterized by cold deserts, salt flats, and mountain ranges. Camels can survive both hot and cold desert climates, making them well suited for the Great Basin. They could play a role in managing invasive species like cheatgrass, which contributes to more frequent and intense wildfires. Northern Mexico, Sonoran Desert, Chihuahuan Desert. The deserts of northern Mexico share many of the same characteristics as the southwestern US, offering large, sparsely populated areas that could be used for rewilding projects. Camels are already well adapted to the hot, dry desert environment, making northern Mexico another potential region for their reintroduction. These areas have similar challenges with land degradation, where camels could be useful in controlling shrub growth and maintaining ecological balance. Western Canada, British Columbia's interior. While less arid than the southwestern US, some interior regions of British Columbia and Alberta have semi-arid grasslands that could also support camels. Camels' ability to adapt to semi-arid regions could make them viable in more temperate areas facing droughts and shifting climate conditions. Camel species suitable for rewilding: dromedary camel, Camelus dromedarius. The dromedary or one-humped camel is native to the Middle East and North Africa. It is adapted to hot, arid climates and is known for its ability to go long periods without water. Dromedaries would be ideal for regions like the southwestern US and northern Mexico, where the climate is hot and dry. These camels are already highly efficient in desert ecosystems and could help restore ecological balance by browsing on shrubs and grasses that other animals cannot consume. There are already feral populations of dromedary camels in Australia, where they were introduced in the 19th century. Their success in Australia shows that they could potentially thrive in similar North American environments. Bactrian camel, Camelus bactrianus. The Bactrian camel has two humps and is adapted to colder desert climates such as those found in Central Asia. Bactrian camels are well suited to both hot summers and extremely cold winters. Bactrian camels would be more suited to regions like the Great Basin or northern desert regions of the US and Canada, where winters can be colder. They could help manage vegetation and provide resilience in areas with more extreme temperature variations. The wild Bactrian camel is critically endangered in its native range, but domesticated Bactrian camels are commonly used for transport and farming in Mongolia and surrounding areas. Rewilding efforts could focus on either the domesticated or the wild species, depending on conservation goals. Benefits of each species. Dromedary camels. More suited to hot, arid deserts, dromedaries would be an excellent candidate for rewilding in the southern desert regions of North America. Their adaptability to extreme heat, minimal water needs, and ability to graze on tough desert vegetation make them ideal for desert ecosystem management. Bactrian camels. Bactrian camels are better adapted to colder climates and regions with more seasonal variation. They would be suitable for areas like the Great Basin or higher elevations where winters are harsh. These camels would be able to survive in both extreme heat and cold, making them a versatile option for rewilding in a range of environments. Rewilding camels in North America could provide significant ecological benefits, especially in arid and semi-arid regions like the southwestern US, northern Mexico, and parts of the Great Basin. Both dromedary and Bactrian camels are viable candidates depending on the specific climate and ecosystem goals of the rewilding project. Their reintroduction could help combat desertification, promote biodiversity, and offer new economic opportunities through ecotourism and sustainable agriculture. However, such projects would need careful planning to mitigate potential conflicts and ensure positive environmental outcomes. Rewilding camels in North America and their interaction with native or feral species like deer, wild boar, wild horses, wild donkeys, and bison would result in various ecological dynamics. Each species occupies different niches and has unique impacts on the environment, leading to both potential synergies and conflicts depending on the resources and habitat. Camels and deer, white-tailed deer, mule deer, elk. Resource competition. Deer and camels both consume plant materials, but they have different dietary preferences. Camels are primarily browsers, feeding on shrubs, leaves, and tough desert vegetation, while deer are more selective grazers, often preferring grasses, leaves, and soft shoots. This difference in feeding habits could minimize direct competition for food. In areas with limited vegetation, especially during droughts, competition could arise over certain food sources, particularly in scrubland or semi-arid environments, where both species might compete for water and shade. Camels' browsing habits could reduce overgrown shrubs, opening up the landscape for deer to access more of the grasses and low-lying plants they prefer. This may help manage vegetation that deer alone may not be able to control, improving the overall health of the ecosystem. Camels' mobility over long distances could help distribute seeds that deer consume, promoting healthier and more diverse plant communities that both species benefit from. Camels and wild boar. Resource competition. Wild boar are omnivores and root through the ground for food such as roots, tubers, insects, and small vertebrates. Camels, being herbivores, do not forage in the same way, so there would be minimal direct dietary competition. However, both species may compete for limited water sources in arid regions, particularly during dry periods. Wild boar are adaptable and can exploit a variety of habitats, which could lead to resource overlaps in areas where water is scarce. Potential conflicts. Wild boar are known to cause extensive damage to plant roots and the ground while foraging, which could interfere with the vegetation that camels rely on for browsing. This might lead to a degradation of the habitat in ways that could negatively impact both camels and other herbivores. Wild boar can also be aggressive, and conflicts could occur if water or food resources become scarce, particularly if boars see camels as competitors. Camels and wild horses, mustangs. Resource competition. Wild horses are grazers and primarily feed on grasses, while camels, as browsers, feed on shrubs and plants that wild horses typically do not consume. This difference in dietary preferences could minimize direct competition, especially in environments where there is a mixture of vegetation types. However, in overgrazed areas where grass is scarce, wild horses and camels may compete for any remaining food, particularly during droughts or in overpopulated herds. Potential synergies. In ecosystems where both species coexist, camels might help reduce the abundance of shrubland and invasive plants, leaving more space for grasses that wild horses prefer. This could create a more balanced landscape that supports both species. Wild horses and camels may share open water sources and grazing areas without significant conflict, provided the ecosystem can support their combined impact on vegetation. Camels and wild donkeys, burrows. Resource competition. Both camels and wild donkeys are browsers, though donkeys also graze on grasses. They may overlap more in terms of feeding preferences than wild horses or deer, particularly when shrubs and tough desert plants are the primary food sources. In areas where plant resources are limited, there could be direct competition between camels and wild donkeys for food and water. Wild donkeys, like camels, are well adapted to arid environments and can survive on low-quality forage, increasing competition in resource-scarce environments. Potential conflicts. Wild donkeys can be territorial over water sources and food, and potential conflicts could arise between donkeys and camels if resources are limited. However, like wild horses, wild donkeys could benefit from camels reducing shrub overgrowth, potentially improving access to grazing lands that wild donkeys prefer. Camels and bison. Resource competition. Bison are primarily grazers feeding on grasses and sedges, while camels focus on shrubs and tough desert plants. Since their diets do not overlap significantly, camels and bison would likely avoid direct competition for food. Bison herds tend to occupy grasslands, while camels would be more comfortable in arid and semi-arid regions with more shrubs and sparse vegetation. This natural habitat segregation could help reduce competition for space and food. Potential synergies. Camels could complement bison in managing ecosystems by focusing on different vegetation types. While bison graze and help maintain grasslands, camels could control the spread of shrubbery and invasive plants. Together, they could promote a healthier, more balanced ecosystem. Both species could share open water sources in arid environments, although bison tend to migrate across larger distances, possibly avoiding direct competition. Camels could fill an ecological niche similar to that of large browsers that once existed in North America. Their presence could help restore some of the ecological functions lost with the extinction of ancient megafauna, like camelops. In a balanced ecosystem, camels could coexist with other large herbivores by exploiting different food sources and helping manage plant diversity. Rewilding camels in North America could lead to interactions with various predators, including jaguars, wolves, cougars, black bears, grizzly bears, and coyotes. While camels are large and relatively hardy animals, each of these predators has distinct behaviors and ecological niches that would shape how they interact with camels. Jaguars, Panthera onca, are powerful predators, but they typically prey on medium to large-sized mammals such as deer, peccaries, and capybaras. Given that camels are large and strong, they would not be a typical prey for jaguars, especially adult camels. Juvenile or sick camels, however, could be vulnerable to jaguar attacks, especially in dense forests or along water sources where jaguars prefer to hunt. Jaguars use their powerful bite to the skull or neck to dispatch prey, and although they would likely avoid healthy adult camels, any weakened individuals could attract attention. Jaguars primarily inhabit dense tropical and subtropical forests, swamps, and areas close to water, while camels prefer open, arid, or semi-arid landscapes. This habitat distinction could minimize interactions, but in regions where jaguars are expanding their range, such as parts of the southwestern US or northern Mexico, they could encounter camels near water sources. Scenario: an adult male jaguar hunts a female dromedary camel. The sun begins to set over a vast arid landscape. Sparse vegetation surrounds a small waterhole where a female dromedary camel, weary from the day's heat, bends down to drink. The sun casts long shadows across the dry ground, and the quiet of the evening is punctuated by the sounds of the wind and distant wildlife. Unbeknownst to the camel, an adult male jaguar is stalking her from the cover of nearby bushes. Jaguars are stealthy hunters, using their powerful bodies and keen senses to approach their prey without being detected. The jaguar is aware of the camel's presence and knows that her size makes her a formidable opponent, but he is also hungry and desperate. He has not eaten in days. As the female camel lowers her head to drink, the jaguar inches closer, his muscles coiling like a spring. Timing is crucial. He waits for the perfect moment. Suddenly, the camel lifts her head, sensing something amiss. The jaguar makes his move, bursting from the underbrush in a powerful sprint. The female camel, startled, instinctively kicks into high gear, sprinting away from the waterhole with surprising speed. Camels are well adapted to their environment and can run quickly to evade predators. The jaguar pursues her, using his agility to navigate the uneven terrain. But the camel's long legs and endurance give her an advantage. As the chase unfolds, the camel zigzags, attempting to shake off her pursuer. However, the jaguar is relentless, darting in and out of bushes, trying to find an opening. Finally, as the camel tires, she stumbles slightly, giving the jaguar the opportunity he has been waiting for. In a burst of speed, the jaguar leaps onto the camel's back, using his powerful jaws to bite into the camel's neck. The camel lets out a startled cry, but the jaguar's strong bite quickly incapacitates her. The jaguar secures his grip, and after a struggle, the camel falls to the ground, exhausted and defeated. After a few moments, the jaguar ensures the camel is no longer a threat. He begins to eat, relishing his hard-earned meal. The scent of blood quickly travels through the air, attracting nearby scavengers. A pack of wolves, drawn by the scent of the kill, approaches cautiously, assessing the situation. They watch from a distance, waiting for an opportunity to move in. Wolves are social animals, and while they might not challenge the jaguar directly, they are skilled at scavenging and will wait until he is distracted. Smaller and more opportunistic, a few coyotes join the scene. They skulk around the edges, looking for scraps that the larger predators leave behind. They are wary of the jaguar, but know that patience is key. If the jaguar leaves even a small piece of meat, the coyotes will snatch it up. A pair of red foxes, attracted by the commotion, peek through the underbrush. They are cautious, but quick to assess the risks. If the jaguar leaves the remains for too long, the foxes will dart in for any leftover meat, especially if he becomes distracted by the wolves. In the distance, a black bear smells the air and begins to approach the site of the kill. Bears are opportunistic feeders and may try to steal some of the carcass once the jaguar has moved on. However, the bear is careful to avoid a confrontation with the jaguar unless it feels confident enough to challenge him. Above, scavenging birds like vultures circle, their keen eyes scanning the ground. They wait patiently for the opportunity to swoop down and feed on the remains once the jaguar is finished or distracted. The sight of a jaguar with a fresh kill is a prime opportunity for them, and they are ready to act swiftly. Cougars, puma concolor, also known as mountain lions, are solitary predators that usually hunt deer, smaller mammals and livestock. Like wolves, cougars are unlikely to target healthy adult camels, but they could pose a threat to younger or weaker camels, especially if the camel is cornered or unable to escape. Cougars are ambush predators that prefer to stalk and pounce from cover, so camels in open, arid environments may be less vulnerable than those in more vegetated or mountainous regions where cougars are prevalent. Camels' size would make them less appealing prey for cougars, especially in regions where deer and other smaller herbivores are abundant. However, if camels encroach into cougar territory near water sources or forest edges, interactions could become more frequent. In the rugged hills of California, the sun hangs low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the landscape. The terrain is dotted with patches of chaparral and sparse trees, providing both cover and open areas for wildlife. Near a small watering hole, a young dromedary camel, perhaps a year old, wanders cautiously, nibbling on some dry grasses. The camel is still inexperienced, lacking the full maturity and strength of an adult. Not far from the watering hole, a female cougar is perched on a rocky outcrop, observing her surroundings with keen amber eyes. Recently, she has given birth to 2 cubs, and they are growing quickly. To keep them nourished and healthy, she needs to hunt efficiently. The female cougar spots the young dromedary camel and begins to formulate her plan. Cougars are solitary hunters, relying on stealth and strength to catch their prey, and she knows she must approach carefully to avoid alarming the camel. The cougar waits patiently, watching the camel's movements. As the camel continues to graze, she begins to stalk closer, moving silently through the underbrush. She uses the natural cover of the terrain to her advantage, crouching low to the ground and calculating the best moment to pounce. As the young camel bends down to drink from the watering hole, the cougar sees her chance. Quietly she moves closer, her muscles coiled and ready. The camel's instinct kicks in, and it occasionally glances around, sensing something is amiss, but not yet aware of the impending danger. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes nearby catches the camel's attention, causing it to lift its head. The female cougar freezes, holding her breath. Time seems to slow as she waits for the camel to relax again. Once the camel resumes drinking, the cougar knows it must act quickly. With a powerful leap, the cougar springs from her hiding spot, aiming directly for the camel. The young camel reacts instinctively, attempting to bolt away, but the cougar is fast and agile. She lands on the camel's back. Using her claws to grip the thick fur, she tries to bring it down. The young camel struggles, kicking and thrashing to shake off its attacker. In a desperate attempt to escape, it makes a sharp turn, causing the cougar to lose her grip momentarily. The camel takes off running, but the cougar quickly regains her composure and chases after it. The chase is intense as they dart through the terrain. The young camel, although agile, is still inexperienced, and the cougar's stamina and speed are formidable. The cougar keeps up the pressure, weaving through the landscape, using her experience to anticipate the camel's movements. After a short but frantic pursuit, the cougar makes another calculated leap, aiming for the camel's legs in an effort to trip it. This time, she succeeds and the camel stumbles, allowing the cougar to catch up and latch onto its neck with her powerful jaws. The young dromedary camel struggles, but the cougar's grip is strong. The fight is over quickly. The young camel succumbs to the cougar's attack, and the predator ensures its prey is secure. With the young camel now subdued, the female cougar quickly drags it to a more concealed area among the bushes to protect her kill from potential scavengers. She knows she must return to her cubs, who are waiting eagerly in their den. After marking the area to establish her claim, the cougar returns to her den, leading her cubs back to the carcass. The cubs, excited by the scent of fresh meat, begin to eat, learning the skills they will need to survive on their own. Scavengers. Meanwhile, the sounds of the struggle have attracted nearby scavengers. A few coyotes, sensing an opportunity, linger at a distance, watching the scene carefully. They know better than to approach while the cougar is present, but they wait for their chance to scavenge any leftovers. Other predators. As the cougar and her cubs feed, a few vultures circle overhead, drawn by the scent of the kill. If the cougar were to leave the area, the vultures would swoop in to pick at the remains. This interaction highlights the complexities of predator-prey relationships and the challenges that cougars face in raising their young. The female cougar's successful hunt demonstrates her skills as a hunter and provider, ensuring that her cubs receive the nourishment they need to grow strong. At the same time, it illustrates the ecological balance within the region, as other predators and scavengers await their opportunity to benefit from the cougar's kill. The cycle of life and death continues in this vibrant ecosystem, shaping the interactions between species in the California wilderness. Wolves, Canis lupus, are pack hunters that target large prey like elk, deer, and bison. While a single wolf would likely not pose a threat to a healthy adult camel, a pack could potentially bring down a weak, injured, or young camel, particularly during harsh winters when food is scarce. Wolves prefer chasing and exhausting their prey before going in for the kill, so in wide open spaces like plains or desert fringes, where camels would thrive, camels might be able to outrun or outlast a wolf pack. However, in regions with heavy snow or rugged terrain, camels could be more vulnerable. Wolves and camels might compete for access to water during dry periods. While wolves can survive on moisture from prey, they still frequent water sources, which are critical to camel survival in arid environments. Wolves' predation on camels could be opportunistic, targeting young, sick or injured individuals rather than robust adults. Scenario: a pack of wolves hunts Bactrian camels in Canada. During winter, in the cold expanse of Canada's northern wilderness, snow blankets the ground, creating a stark white landscape. The air is crisp and the sun hangs low in the sky, casting long shadows over the rugged terrain. A small herd of Bactrian camels, adapted to cold climates, moves slowly through the snow, foraging for sparse vegetation poking through the surface. The camels' thick, double-layered coats keep them insulated against the frigid temperatures. A pack of 12 wolves, skilled hunters and efficient predators, is tracking the camels from a distance. The wolves are organized and well coordinated, using their numbers to increase their chances of a successful hunt. As they move through the snow, they communicate through low growls and soft howls, planning their approach while ensuring they remain undetected by their prey. The wolves observe the camels closely, noting their behavior and any weaknesses in the herd. As the camels graze, the wolves split into two groups to encircle the herd, using the terrain to their advantage. The wolves understand that patience and strategy are key. They wait for the perfect moment to strike. Suddenly, one of the younger wolves, eager to prove itself, breaks from the group and charges toward the camels, barking to initiate the chase. Startled, the camels raise their heads and begin to move quickly. But the wolves are agile and have the advantage of speed on their side. The first wave of wolves focuses on separating a single camel from the herd. They use loud howls and strategic movements to confuse and scatter the camels. The young wolf's barking causes the camels to panic, leading them to flee in different directions. The wolves identify a slower, older female Bactrian camel who struggles to keep up with the others. Recognizing her vulnerability, a few wolves break away from the main group to pursue her, while the rest continue to chase the remaining camels to keep them occupied. The wolves close in on the targeted female camel, their powerful legs propelling them through the snow. The camel, realizing she is being hunted, instinctively turns to face her attackers, rearing up on her hind legs in a display of strength. The lead wolves are momentarily taken aback, but they regroup quickly. One wolf lunges forward, aiming to bite the camel's leg, while others circle around to flank her. The camel fights back fiercely, kicking and biting, using her size to her advantage. The battle is intense. The female camel, despite her age, puts up a valiant fight. She manages to land a kick on one wolf, sending it tumbling into the snow. However, the wolves are relentless, working together to tire her out. They dart in and out, nipping at her legs, trying to find an opening while avoiding her powerful kicks. As the struggle continues, the surrounding wolves take turns attacking, wearing her down. The other camels, still fleeing, can hear the sounds of the struggle, but are too far away to help their companion. After several minutes of struggle, the older female camel begins to weaken. A wolf manages to clamp its jaws around her throat, and despite her desperate attempts to escape, she succumbs to the pack's coordinated assault. The pack of wolves has successfully hunted the camel, demonstrating their teamwork and hunting prowess in the harsh winter environment. The wolves are exhausted but triumphant, gathering around their fallen prey. A few coyotes arrive cautiously, drawn by the scent of blood. They keep their distance, waiting for an opportunity to scavenge leftovers once the wolves are distracted. Birds of prey, such as eagles and ravens, circle overhead, keenly observing the scene. They wait for a chance to swoop down and pick at any scraps left behind. In the distance, a black bear, roused from its hibernation by the commotion, might investigate the area. Bears are opportunistic feeders and may attempt to scavenge if the wolves leave any remains. This scenario illustrates the intricate dynamics of predator-prey relationships in a winter ecosystem, highlighting the teamwork of wolves and the resilience of Bactrian camels. It also underscores the importance of scavengers in the food web, as various species come to take advantage of the resources available after a successful hunt. The cycle of life and death in this harsh environment continues, shaping the landscape and the interactions between species. Black bears, Ursus americanus, are opportunistic omnivores, typically not specializing in hunting large prey. They mostly consume berries, plants, insects, and occasionally small mammals, although they can prey on deer or livestock when the opportunity arises. Black bears might scavenge camel carcasses, but they are unlikely to actively hunt healthy adult camels. Juvenile camels or weakened individuals could be at risk in forested areas where bears roam, especially if food resources are scarce. Black bears and camels could both frequent similar habitats, especially areas near water sources. Bears may approach camels out of curiosity, but they would likely not see camels as typical prey, especially given the bear's more varied diet. Scenario: an adult male black bear encounters a herd of Bactrian camels in Alberta. It's a calm summer afternoon in the rolling plains of Alberta, Canada. The landscape is a mixture of open grasslands, dense patches of forest, and rugged terrain, creating an ideal habitat for various wildlife species. A small herd of Bactrian camels, a species reintroduced to the region, grazes peacefully near the edge of a forest. The camels, with their thick, woolly coats, are well adapted to cold climates and arid conditions, but they thrive in the summer's warmth, feeding on shrubs and grass. Nearby, an adult male black bear roams through the forest in search of food. Standing over 6 feet tall on his hind legs and weighing up to 500 pounds, the bear is a powerful and formidable presence in this region. Although black bears are typically omnivorous, feeding on plants, berries and small animals, they are opportunistic and will investigate larger creatures if curious or hungry enough. As the black bear ambles through the woods, the scent of the camels reaches his keen nose. His curiosity piqued, the bear changes direction and moves toward the herd. He is not necessarily hunting, but more interested in investigating these large, unusual creatures that have entered his territory. The camels, though large and powerful, are mostly peaceful animals focused on grazing. They stand nearly 6 to 7 feet at the shoulder, and their imposing size makes them less likely to be intimidated by a single predator. However, they remain alert and cautious, aware of potential dangers in the wild. As the black bear emerges from the tree line, the closest camels lift their heads and eye the bear warily. The herd consists of adults and juveniles, and though they are not immediately threatened, their instincts tell them to be cautious. The bear moves closer, sniffing the air, assessing the situation. The camels respond by shifting slightly, positioning themselves to form a loose protective circle around the younger individuals in the herd. The black bear, sensing the camel's alertness, pauses about 50 feet away, standing up on his hind legs to get a better view. From this height, he can observe the herd more clearly, and the camels, recognizing the bear's size, begin to back away slowly, keeping their distance but not fleeing outright. For a moment, there is a tense standoff. The black bear remains upright, watching the camels with curiosity. He has no immediate interest in attacking such large prey, but is intrigued by their presence. The camels, on the other hand, are aware of the bear's potential threat and are prepared to defend themselves if necessary. One of the larger males in the herd steps forward, letting out a low, rumbling growl. Bactrian camels are known to use vocalizations and body language to communicate within the herd and ward off potential threats. The bear lowers himself back onto all fours, interpreting this as a sign of warning. After a few moments of quiet observation, the black bear decides not to engage. The camels are simply too large and organized as a herd for a lone bear to take down easily. Additionally, black bears are more scavengers than active hunters of large prey. He sniffs the air one last time, then turns away from the herd and retreats back into the forest. The camels, still on high alert, watch the bear disappear into the woods. Gradually, they relax and resume grazing, though they remain slightly more vigilant than before. Grizzly bears, Ursus arctos horribilis, are more aggressive and formidable than black bears. While they are omnivores like black bears, grizzlies are more willing to tackle large prey, including elk and bison calves. Although they are unlikely to hunt healthy adult camels, they could target calves or weaker individuals, particularly if food is scarce. Grizzly bears are extremely strong and capable hunters when necessary. In regions where grizzlies overlap with camel populations, such as the Northern Rockies or the Great Plains, young camels or those separated from the herd might be vulnerable. Grizzly bears prefer forested or mountainous regions, but can be found in more open landscapes like tundra and grasslands, which could bring them into contact with camels. Bears might compete with camels for certain food resources, particularly during droughts when plant availability is limited. In the expansive wilderness of Yellowstone National Park, the late summer air carries a sense of urgency as animals prepare for the coming winter. The meadows are lush and the forests provide shelter, but food is becoming increasingly scarce as the season transitions. A female grizzly bear, lean and hungry, roams the park with her 4 cubs. Each cub, still young and dependent on their mother for protection and food, follows closely behind her. The grizzly, driven by the need to feed herself and her growing cubs, is constantly on the lookout for prey. Nearby, a small herd of Bactrian camels, a species recently rewilded to the area, grazes in the open meadow. These camels are well adapted to harsh conditions and travel in a tight group, consisting of several adults and a few juveniles. Their thick coats and large bodies make them imposing figures in the landscape, but they remain alert to potential predators. The female grizzly bear, guided by her acute sense of smell, catches the scent of the camels in the distance. The scent of such large animals signals a potential food source, and while camels are not typical prey, the grizzly's hunger drives her to investigate. She begins to move in the direction of the herd, her cubs trailing behind. The camels are grazing quietly, unaware of the approaching bear. Their sheer size makes them less vulnerable to many predators, but the presence of a grizzly, especially with cubs, poses a new kind of threat. As the grizzly and her cubs draw closer to the herd, one of the adult camels lifts its head, sensing the presence of a predator. The camels, recognizing the danger, start to gather together, forming a loose protective circle with the adults shielding the juveniles. This instinctive behavior helps the herd fend off predators by making it harder for any one animal to be isolated. The female grizzly, upon spotting the herd, assesses the situation. A direct attack on a full-grown Bactrian camel would be dangerous even for a powerful bear, especially with her cubs to protect. She weighs her options carefully. Despite her hunger, the grizzly bear knows that the adult camels are formidable. A single adult camel can weigh up to 1,500 pounds, and their strength, combined with their ability to defend themselves with powerful kicks and bites, makes them a risky target. However, the grizzly's eyes lock onto one of the younger camels, which appears more vulnerable. The mother bear, needing to provide for her cubs, begins to stalk toward the herd, focusing on isolating the juvenile. The adult camels react immediately, growing more defensive as the grizzly approaches. They stand tall, rumbling low vocalizations to warn the bear off. The camels attempt to reposition, but in doing so, one of the juveniles is momentarily separated from the group. This is the opportunity the grizzly has been waiting for. In a swift burst of speed, the grizzly charges at the juvenile camel. The herd panics momentarily, and the adults try to reposition to protect the young one, but the grizzly's strength and determination give her an advantage. The juvenile camel, although large, is not yet fully grown and lacks the experience of the adults in dealing with predators. It tries to flee, but the grizzly bear is fast and powerful. She lunges at the camel, grabbing hold of its hindquarters with her claws. The camel struggles, attempting to kick at the bear, but the grizzly's grip is strong. Her cubs, eager to learn from their mother, stay back but watch intently as she fights to bring down the camel. After a short but intense struggle, the juvenile camel collapses, and the grizzly delivers the fatal blow with a powerful bite to the neck. The young camel succumbs to the attack, and the herd, sensing the danger has passed, retreats, leaving the grizzly and her cubs to their prize. With the young camel subdued, the mother grizzly calls her cubs over to the kill. The cubs, still learning the ways of survival, begin to eat alongside their mother. The meal is crucial for the bear family, providing the nourishment they need to build fat reserves for the upcoming winter hibernation. The mother bear uses the opportunity to teach her cubs how to handle larger prey. They mimic her behavior, biting and tearing at the meat, though they're still far from independent hunters. While the bears feast, other animals in the area become aware of the kill. Ravens and eagles circle above, waiting for their turn. Coyotes, always opportunistic, lurk nearby, hoping to scavenge once the bears have had their fill. The mother bear remains alert as she and her cubs eat. She knows that the scent of the kill could attract other predators like wolves or even other bears. Though grizzlies are apex predators, a confrontation with a rival bear could threaten her cubs. After the attack, the remaining camels regroup at a safe distance. The loss of the juvenile is unfortunate, but the adults know that staying together is their best defense. They move to a different part of the meadow, further from the bear's reach. The camel's herd instincts help minimize losses, but this encounter serves as a reminder of the dangers they face in their new environment. In the wilds of Yellowstone, even large animals like camels are not immune to the predation of a hungry grizzly bear. As we explore the possibilities of reintroducing camels to North America, it's clear that their resilience and adaptability could play a significant role in restoring balance to ecosystems shaped by both natural forces and human impact. These hardy animals, once native to the continent, could help manage vegetation, support biodiversity, and serve as a valuable resource for preserving arid landscapes. While there are challenges to rewilding camels, such as their interactions with existing wildlife and predators, these scenarios offer insight into the dynamic role they could play in modern ecosystems. In partnership with conservation efforts and careful management, camels have the potential to not only survive, but thrive in North America once again. The future of rewilding camels holds promise, not just for their survival, but for the benefit of the landscapes they inhabit and the ecosystems they help maintain. Let's continue to explore and understand the impact of this incredible journey as we look to the past to shape a more sustainable future. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and stay tuned for more updates on rewilding and conservation efforts around the globe.